overthrow the government. Is this the mainstream evangelical or
there are people who claim to be Christians who do things that are unbiblical, and there are even people who are Christians and naive or unbiblical. So I would argue that that's fringe people, but you're talking like, QAnon and people like that nonsense. I mean, there are people who claim to be Christians, and some I think are, but they're wrong. Certainly the majority of us, we don't believe that. I don't believe everything the government can do when our government or any other government does things that are wrong. But yeah, it's not my job to overthrow it, and I would argue Christians really have no business being involved in that for that kind of talk. That's unbiblical.
Really appreciate that. And that's solid. I mean, it's just as simple as that. People, they're going to have friends on everything. Even the Bible talks about how Jesus is going to come back and clear the church up or clear the reality up. Because you go to church don't mean that you're saved, because they're going to separate the sheep from the goat, as it were, the wheat and the tares and all that. So there's going to be, just because you see it the way it is now doesn't necessarily mean it's so. And then when you have fringe people doing things, they still have an opportunity to repent if they're in that sheep goat type situation. And Craig, I gotta ask this question about kind of following through with the gospel message in this question. Do you believe that people can be so self-deceived that they believe they're saved, but they're really not?
Well, sure. And that's why Paul said, test yourself, prove yourself, see if you're in the faith. Now, I want to be careful, because some people are OCD, literally, and I'm not saved, or they think they have to keep confessing Christ, and says Christ again and again and again. John warns us about that. First John, people who claim to love God, know God, but they hate fellow humans, their brothers and sisters, and John tells us that that's all wrong. That you can't say, you can say it, but I mean, it's not the case. You can love God who you haven't seen, and yet hate your fellow human, brothers and sisters. So that's how I would address that. That's mistaken.
Appreciate that. 888-995-5552 is the number you can call Eric right now. Darnell, we're going to get to you on the phone momentarily, but I want to give some information in regards to some of the things we have going on with the ministry, especially for those of you that are not reading through your Bible. We have an excellent opportunity for you to either catch up or just start from the beginning. Check out our Facebook page, and on Facebook, I post daily a chronological reading of the Bible, whereby you can follow through. And if you have about 20 minutes out of your day, you can go through, either make a comment and or a question about the Bible, which you just read, the verses that you read on that day. A chronological reading through the Bible. I would suggest that you get a Bible, audio Bible as well, so it can play in the background as you're reading along. So don't just let it play in your ear. Take an opportunity as it's playing to read along with it, and I guarantee you it helps you with those big old fancy words with the people's name, especially in the Old Testament. So take an opportunity to do that. As well, if you're interested in having a Bible study, if you go on our .com website, BibleInfoBrokers.com, we have a Wednesday Bible study you can join in. Just click that icon, take the information, contact Sal. He'll let you take that time on there, and I'm going to get it. But that's why I'm asking people to contact you directly to get involved with the Bible study as well. And we thank you, brother. We thank you immensely, and I'm sure Brian is smiling about the Bible study. Additionally, Craig, before we go back to the phones and the calls, on Wednesday, you don't have a channel. I checked it out. I Googled you, Craig. You do not have a channel. But you got the nerve to be on something called his channel.
Yes, I do.
So please, by my dear aunt's birthday name, Cena's namesake, what say you about his channel situation?
Well, Daryl, I do have the privilege to be on internet TV on his channel, literally his, HIS channel. No hyphens, no spaces, no commas, no Q's, no colons. Just hischannel.com, and do a program that airs Wednesday called Today's Bible Questions. And People can call in 24/7, 365 anytime during the week, and they can text a message to the number that's given, and we'll attempt to answer that from God's Word, whether it's the Bible, theology, the cults, the occult, world religions, philosophy, religion, theology, ethics, apologetics, those type of issues. If you like this type of format, only you can actually watch it. It doesn't scare you too much. You can do that on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock on his channel. Yes.
Very good. I have the number too. I'm going to give it to the people because you did the right thing by saying text. We don't have that fax stuff that we do anymore. That's a little cumbersome. But if you want to text, the fancy thing of texting, that number is 714-815-7097. Once again, text his channel. BCH can answer your questions during the week, and it's on a Wednesday. You can text anytime after this broadcast. As soon as the broadcast is over, you have questions, text a question to 714-815-7097. And we appreciate that in advance. Okay, let's go here. Let's see, PCH. Let's go to the phone. Then we go back to Facebook. And we appreciate people taking the opportunity to call in. Eric at 888-995-5552. 888-995-5552. Before you can call in. And also on the other formats here, we have Facebook, email, tweet, messenger, Truth Social, and other platforms we're going to be getting futuristically. You can, it's going to be the same address. Prayerfully, we can get all the addresses being the same, or Bible Info Brokers. And while you're on these platforms, please don't forget to share. That's a good way to evangelize about Bible Information Brokers. So take an opportunity. Bible Info Brokers for the various formats we have now: Facebook, email, tweet, messenger, auto.com website, and Truth Social. So, PCAs, I'm going to slide over here, make sure I do the right side, and talk with almost my namesake, but Darnell from Fullerton. Darnell, thanks for holding on and calling in.
Hey, first of all of you.
Thank you, sir.
I've never been in hell, but I have been thirsty. I'm just wondering, in a parable Jesus told about Lazarus and the rich man. The rich man was in hell. He only asked for like a drop of water on his tongue. I'm just wondering, like, if I'm in thirst, I need at least a quart of water. I'm just wondering, how come he didn't ask for like a glass of water or a pitcher of water if I only like a drop?
Yeah, it's a figure of speech. It certainly would have taken more, but it's just the idea to let us know how extreme it is. He is so extremely uncomfortable that even a drop of water, but that's just really, we would say, a figure of speech. Of course, he wouldn't want just a drop of water. He would want more than that. But we do the same thing. We either exaggerate and say, I could drink the ocean, or we do the same thing. We underestimate something and say, but even just that would be enough. So that's just kind of a common literary device, or at least a figure of speech, colloquialism, if you will.
Okay. Darnell, thank you very much for your phone call. Interesting question, brother. God bless you, man.
God bless you.
Okay, PCH, we have another question on Facebook. Let's see if I can bring this up. We're doing pretty good here. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We answered a question earlier, and I got to make a comment about this because this is interesting. And the question there was about the evangelical. The brother William said, "Thank you for taking my question. I'm following through with this because it's important." He says, "I am on the verge of leaving Christianity because of the ultra. I mean, I guess I have all, but I'm sure it's ultra right-wing Christianity." How would you talk to a brother like that, or a sister, or anybody that's dealing with the idea of how people are doing Christianity? And would that be any reason to leave Christianity if you're going to look at it from the standpoint of if there's any good reason? Can you talk on that, Greg?
Well, I can try. Sure, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's important. I would say that's a caricature of Christianity. It just as the ultra-left is the same thing. I have problems with the ultra-left and the ultra-right. There's ultra-left who just says basically anything goes, just love people, kumbaya. it doesn't matter what you do, you can do anything you want, and God forgives. That's not Christianity either. And then there are some, right wing, and I'll call them conspiracy nuts, like QAnon and all that stuff. And it's very dangerous to attach a country to Christianity. Same thing happened in the French Revolution, but when the French people rejected the government of France, and many of them rejected Christianity at the same time. And so I would say, I would just want to caution, say, why would you throw out what's true and right and good because of an abuse, because someone misuses it? There's always people who misuse good things. I mean, analogy to me would be like saying, well, I'm not going to take any medicine because some people take too much of it. Well, just because somebody overdoses or abuses medication doesn't mean one shouldn't use it properly. So yeah, I mean, he's offended ultra right. Well, so am I, but I'm not leaving Christianity because that's not God, that's not Jesus. That's a bunch of goofballs who may or may not mean well, but are simply wrong. And unfortunately, they've so tied in their view of government and Christianity with each other, and I believe we've conflated or we're confusing them. Christianity is separate from, I think there are some good things in American government. As I often tell my law students, I go through and ask them, what are the best things? And I say, I can prove that all these are from Christianity. But that doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean there's not problems with it. And that doesn't mean we want to just, I'm not going to check off on everything my government does, and I'm not just going to condemn my government for everything it does. I'm going to try to weigh it, speaking generally, whether I'm talking federal or state level or municipality level or local level. I'm going to weigh it by biblical standards, and just got to know when I share your frustration, and I'm sorry to hear how you feel on it, but I get it. I can see why you're saying what you're saying, because there are people who try to so blend the two that if you don't hold their view of government or their view of whatever they're trying to do, then they're going to cast aspersions on you or say you're not being a good Christian or what have you. When the irony is they're the ones not being good Christians, if at all, because they've attached some things to it that are unbiblical. Christianity transcends any given culture, any given government. As a government does justice and does what's right and fair and true and good, then we are to embrace it and go with it. When any government does things that are wrong, then we can and should speak out. But again, there's folks on the ultra right, yeah, there are, and there's ultra left as well, and both of those are just that, extremes. So that would be my perspective. So I can't resist. I wouldn't throw baby out the bathwater. If Jesus Christ really is God, the Son of God, if he really did what the Bible says he did, then I'm going to embrace him, but I'm not going to embrace the nuts that claim to be Christian. It's the old saying, a version thereof it is, I die with God, I love God, I just can't handle the church, right? It's Christians that bother me. Well, because they're imperfect and they say and do some pretty dumb things at times, and we can rightly reject what some Christians say, but should embrace what Jesus did say. I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that definitely helps. And I hope that people that I've had a conversation with in regards to that, have been many conversations about just what William was dealing with. Some people, William is saying, thinking about on the verge of leaving Christianity because of that. I have folks that says just what you said at the end of that. They don't want to come to Christianity because you got, again, Christians not living out what they say they believe. And so that hypocrisy and what the unsaved world sees, there's still no excuse for you and what the tenet of Christianity is, which is your salvation. It's not it's not a family plan or a group policy or something like that. You're gonna get a discount. This is you and your soul, and that's what I try to emphasize to people. So PCA said that's a brilliant answer. Now let me go ahead.
Well, sorry, John. Say there's what's called the tu quoque fallacy. Someone could actually be a hypocrite. It doesn't mean because they're a hypocrite. I mean, certainly that's wrong. But just because someone's a hypocrite doesn't mean their view's not true. But what I also want to say is Jesus was the hypocrite. If Jesus taught, ultra right-wing stuff or what have you, well, that would be different. And I could say, okay, you reject what Jesus said, but here we're rejecting what other people think he says, or try to, the words or actions they put in his mouth that he did not condone. So I would not make those distinctions. And again, there's a fallacy we call tu quoque, which means literally you're another. So let's say somebody speaks out against being drunk and drunken driving, then they end up getting a 502. They're arrested for drunk driving. And well, so obviously they don't believe that, or drunk driving's not wrong. And it's like, no, the person may believe it. They're just weak-willed and or inconsistent, what have you. But it doesn't mean drunk driving is therefore okay. It just means they're inconsistent and they're a hypocrite. And we've got to leave it at that.
Now, I'm going to give the number, but I want you to hold that thought because I want to come to something I believe. That number is 888-995-5552. Call Eric right now, 888-995-5552. And also, we appreciate the platforms that you guys taking advantage of, whether it's Facebook, email, .com, website, tweet, messenger, or True Social. Please take advantage of those platforms as you have been doing on the rest of the broadcast. We have about 30 minutes left at 888. I'm sorry, not at AAA, but at Bible Info Brokers. Bible Info Brokers is the address for all those platforms. Now, BCH, I don't want to go talk too much about those numbers. I want to carry on the thought because I had a question that was going to actually open the show with as well, which is to ask a question about paradoxes in the Bible from the biblical understanding of things and half that the Bible talks about. Are paradoxes okay, but yet contradictions are never okay? Can you talk on that? I mean, I almost like an extension of what we were talking about, but I just want to throw that general phrase out there. Paradoxes, okay, from a theological standpoint. Contradictions, never okay.
Well, sure, but not just theologically. We often speak in paradoxical terms. I mean, let's take the passage. There's two verses back to back in Proverbs. It says, "Don't answer a fool according to his folly," and the next one says, "Answer a fool according to his folly. You see, be wise in his own eyes." And you go, boy, the writer of Proverbs is a total knucklehead. He contradicts himself. But no, he's referring to a different sense. In other words, don't answer a fool like a fool. If someone's being stupid, don't you be stupid as well and give up that argument. Or if someone's being childish, either the content of what they're saying or how they're dealing with it, that is, if someone acts childish, don't you act childish. And then it says basically, without acting like a child, without using dumb or stupid arguments, answer a fool so he doesn't think he's wise, that people see that he doesn't know what he's talking about. So that's apparent. It's an apparent contradiction. It's only on the surface, or at a surface level, it looks like you have a contradiction. Whereas a contradiction is indeed just that, and the word we'd actually use is called an antinomy. An antinomy isn't just an apparent or looks like contradiction. It is an actual contradiction. Indeed, I have a free handout on this issue, and so many people, they go, "Oh, that's a contradiction." And it's like, no, you need to know what a contradiction is, and that is a violation of the law of non-contradiction, that a statement cannot be both true and false in the same time or same sense. If the sense of the meaning of the word or the phrase changes, or the time, then it's not necessarily a contradiction. I could say, well, you might hear me talking, and I go, well, I wasn't there at 10. And then later on, we're talking, I go, well, I was there. I was there at 10, but I meant I wasn't there at 10 a.m. I was there at 10 p.m. That's a paradox, and it's solved as soon as you put in the actual a.m. or p.m. So contradictions would be our problem. If we have actual contradictions in the Bible, that's a problem, because I would argue whatever else they are, contradictions are a mark of falsehood, of untruth. In spite of people trying to baptize them and make them okay, whereas paradoxes, those are said and given many times, and again, not just by religious people. Again, don't answer a fool like a fool yourself, but answer a fool like a wise person. See, now that makes it a little clearer, the difference. And you retain it because the two run in parallel or tandem. Apparently contradictory, but actually only paradoxically so, as opposed to an actual antinomy, one more time, which is a literal contradiction.
Gotcha. You know, PCH, I was okay with you, but you said it too many times. Now, I'm going to tell you why I'm getting a little sensitive, because you kept using that Proverbs verse, and you talking about a fool. And I want you to know that my name is Fulton, Fulton, not Foolton, as you were making reference to in Proverbs. I just want to get that straight, because I was feeling a little bit sensitive. Feeling some kind of way when you kept saying fool so much. I thought you was, doing that little banter we talked about last week. On the slide. Yeah, I gave you one, so you can use that in the future, but I'm going to say I gave it to you. 888-995-5552, 888-995-5552 is the number. All the other formats, Bible Info Brokers for Facebook, email, tweet, messenger, or Truth Social. Let's go back to the phones, PCH. I really appreciate the folks calling in, and we can see how the show goes so fast. We only have about another 25 minutes left of the broadcast before it's actually left about 20 minutes left. So let's get to as many calls as we can. And let's bring up, if I do it on the right side, bring up Renee from Rancho. Is it Rancho Birdies or is this Rancho? Rancho Cucamonga. I didn't see the rest of it on there. I'll talk to Eric about that. We have to maybe deduct some of his salary. So I appreciate that, Rancho. You know what? I actually love that word, Rancho Cucamonga. I have some friends who live out there when they first opened up that city. But thanks for calling, Renee. What's your question for that?
Well, my question was, I want to know, I've been having this for a long time and meaning to call, how come on every platform, mostly people talk about heaven? I want to do this and go to heaven. I'm going to say my prayers so I can go to heaven. Everything's about going to heaven. Okay. But nobody ever talks about how in Revelation, God's going to create a new heaven, a new earth, and what's going to happen with that, and maybe you'll be going there. It's kind of a basic question, I guess, but nobody ever thinks about that. Nobody ever talks.
Renee, that's an excellent question as far as I'm concerned, because we have talked about it. Matter of fact, I like to talk about it because I would just simply say this, and let the professor straighten it all out for both of us. I would say that the heaven that they don't talk about the new heaven and the new earth, because I think it's going to be our first stop. I mean, in the reference to how we're talking about it now, like when Brian passed away, it's not the new heaven and the new earth right now. So Brian's in heaven, as we say. The new heaven and new earth, I'm just saying that on there, is going to be that place where God's going to put me in charge of the majority of the golf courses, at least in the Western Hemisphere. That's what I'm talking about. PCA straight, this will be Renee and I out.
Well, Renee's point is well taken. I appreciate what you said, because the stop, if you will, is quote unquote heaven. But Renee's absolutely right that it's a new heaven and a new earth, and we're going to live on the new earth. So it's a common misconception. To me, Renee, it's right up there with many times. I mean, how many times I hear somebody say revelation, like plural? It's a simple mistake, but people do it all the time because they've heard it and they just repeat it. And so Christians have been taught they're going to go to heaven, and once we are, at least first stop, if you will, for most of us. But we just assume that's where we're always going to be, and we don't really carefully represent what the Bible actually teaches, and that's what you're actually noting, and rightly so.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. No pushback for me.
Very good question, Renee. I'm Rancho Cucamonga. Thank you very much for the call.
Bye-bye.
Hey, PCA, so we'll talk about giving, Eric is trying to give me a message, but I'm going to do it this way. We'll faith supported, but before we get into the giving aspect of how we give it and how we make it available for people to participate, there's a reply that I want to get to as far as this question I'll tell you after the broadcast. And the question is this: is this an evangelical saying? Holiness is being more justified than you were when you first became saved. Is that holiness?
That would be an unbiblical way to say it. That would not be a way. I'm no more, let's say, in 5 years from now, hopefully I've grown mature more than I am today, but I'm no more saved than I am right now. I'm no more saved than the first day, and I'm certainly not perfect, that's for sure, but I've come a long way. Anybody who knew me in my teens and what I was like versus now, it's a big difference. But so I'm going to use a little bit different vocabulary. So I wouldn't want to say it the way I just heard you say it. Repeat that. What we talked about is positional versus practical holiness. So positional, that is before God, in position to God, I'm as from day one, even more so from eternity, I'm as holy as I'm ever going to be. I'm as righteous or declared righteous as I'm ever going to be. I'm not going to be tomorrow than I am today. I'm going to say right now as much as I'm ever going to be because it's positional. Because why? The God of the universe has declared he cannot lie. He does not change his mind. That he's declared to be righteous. And he says, again, he that comes to me, I will no wise cast out. So that's positionally. That is before God. Our position is we have been declared righteous. Dikaiasune, and having been justified or having been declared righteous, as in Romans 5, 1 and 2, Romans 5, 9, Titus 3, verses 6/7. We've been declared righteous. Also Romans 3:28, among other passages. At any rate, but practically, yes, I grow actually now in sanctification. I actually grow in holiness. So, in other words, I'm growing up, just like a child growing into an adult. Can I use an analogy? Like a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old is not going to be more human when they're 10, 12, or 20. They're every bit as human at 5 as they will ever be, but certainly they're going to grow and mature as a human as they grow and mature. And so the Christian should grow and mature. We are declared righteous. We are positionally righteous, but practically we can and should grow over the days, months, weeks, years. We grow in our faith. In that sense, we become more holy. That is, in actuality, not just positionally how God sees me or treats me, but that I don't lose my temper as much, or I'm actually gracious to people who are obnoxious, and just fill in the blanks, whatever goes in there for a given person. That's the more biblical way I'd be comfortable saying it. Positional versus practical holiness. That is salvation. I'm as saved as I'm ever going to be right now. But sanctification, that's actual holiness, practical holiness. And that, hopefully, I'm growing day by day, becoming more literally transformed into the very image of Christ.
So I just want to make sure it's clear that was Tom's question from Messenger. And the issue, I think, I love the idea that he put it there, that you explained it. Holiness in regards to justification versus holiness in regards to sanctified living or whatever. I've heard the expression many years from many people, I'm more holy or being more holier than thou. Which is it's not necessarily a wrong statement.
Yesterday, Donald J. Trump showed up in Fulton County, Georgia, for his arrest. This whole thing was ridiculous. He did not need to take a mugshot. He's one of the most famous people on earth. According to Georgia law, you don't have to take a mugshot if they're contemporaneous photos to make them identifiable. I feel like people know who Donald J. Trump is, but they made a crucial error. So Donald J. Trump is actually really good at images technology. This guy's amazing at it. He's been on camera consistently for about 60 years at this point. This is extremely interesting.
Out there near Carriesburg, where you guys said that, that's what looked like my tribe came from. But anyway, thanks for listening in, Bird. I appreciate you, man. I call him Junior Big because he's younger than I am. And at his church over there we went to when I was out there, Greg, had a great time. And I call him Junior Big. He called me Senior Big, which is brother in Christ. That's our little nickname to each other. So that's our banter back and forth. 888-995-5552. 888-995-5552. Deja and Ray, hold on for a second. Craig, I'm just going to ask that you help us out in regards to the giving, how we are a faith-supported ministry, and I'll let the people know how they can execute the giving for those that would definitely consider strongly giving to what we do.
Well, thanks, Daryl. We are faith-supported, which means we rely upon God's people. Yes, God supports the program, but he does it to his people. And so the expenses for the radio broadcast, for the website and its maintenance and upkeep, and indeed the training of trainers, and where we train pastors and Christian leaders, Bible translators, missionaries from various parts, particularly from India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar. That's all because of the prayerful financial partnership of our dear brothers and sisters. And it really is appropriate since it's really, Brian, our dear friend Brian Allen, with, his birthday today, it would have been 66 today if he was still here with us in person. We pay the health insurance for his widow, rightly so, because Brian was a faithful brother, and so his wife's a faithful sister, and we want to help out. And that's possible because of people who believe in this broadcast, who believe in what we do, who stand with us prayerfully and financially. And, above all, we can say, look, if you only can do one, if only one, then we'll take your prayers. God can always provide the finances in other ways for your local fellowship, the church where you attend, and then by the grace of God, if you're able, as you're able, then you can stand with us financially, and Daryl will tell you how you can do that.
Real simple, real quick, as I'm going to get back to the questions. You can simply go to our website at BibleInfoBrokers.com, BibleInfoBrokers.com. Click the icon that says support and donate, follow the instructions, and it'll set you up with either a one-time giving or a monthly subscription, as they call it. Also, if online, I would suggest if you do it this way, send it by mail, and you can simply use the email address of livebyword@aol.com. Livebyword@aol.com. AOL.com. Livebyword. It's the same address that we use for the support and donate one, but I have to say it that way because it's not on there yet. That's what I'm selling. But it's livebyword@aol.com. You can sell 100% of the money goes there. They don't charge any fees. That's the way I would suggest that you do it if you're so inclined. If you want to send us a check, or have your bank send us a check, anything that's going to be written, if you want to send us a note, postcard, comments, anything you want to mail in, please write out on the envelope LBTW, or spell out Living by the Word, and mail it to P.O. Box 90477 in Los Angeles 90009. That's the check and everything. Let's put LBTW, that's Live by Word, at P.O. Box 90477 in Los Angeles 90009. And we thank you 100% in advance. PCs, I'm rushing a little bit. I'm going to get back to the calls and also with the messages. Timothy, we answered a question about repentance. So you got Facebook, so go on Facebook when the broadcast is over and listen to the rest of the answer that we gave in regards to your question when you got hung up on. So it was one of those things where you got hung up on, PCH got hung up on, but we did finish the question about repentance. But sure, feel free to go back next week as well. We can continue on with that conversation. I love to talk about this subject. It's so important, especially repentance, reconciliation, everything to do with the gospel message. So right now, PCH, I'm going to go back to the phone call. It's at 888-995-5552. 888-995-5552. For those of you that want to get on before the broadcast is over, and let's talk with Ray from Los Angeles. Ray, thanks for holding on and calling in.
Yeah, this is Ray. I'm a regular listener.
Yes, you are.
I've never heard God's voice aloud, but in my head always. I had this is so far out. God seemed to show me like his, I'm going to call you home. Well, of course, I would go home to heaven. I've been preaching for 30 years about, and it kind of shook me up. That isn't regular, like God that doesn't say that kind of thing ever. What is PGH commenters is a time that do a crazy thing that happened one time, forget about it or what. Well, Ray, a couple of things. First of all, great to hear from you. Sound like you're doing well. Number one, good to hear from you. Number two is, we kind of test things. Like you said, you didn't say you heard an audible voice, but there's at least three possibilities. Take you home. Should he tarry, we're all going to go home. But I'm assuming that you had, what's that, Ray? Of course, you cannot lose your salvation. Well, talk about the point that, so you're talking about more of an immediacy of God calling you home. And there's at least two possibilities. At least number one is it's just, for some reason, your own mind generated that thought. Somehow it just came up. and it's just for whatever reason. Number two, it could be demonic. The devil could try to, or demonic spirit try to lie to you and say, "Oh boy, I'm taking you out," or whatever, something like that. And number three, and it could be God, but if it was God, trust me, it would be happening pretty soon. I mean, I'm hoping it's not God this time at least, but it would be pretty soon. The proof is putting clear back in Deuteronomy 13 and 18. Part of the way one can know someone is a prophet of God or God spoke to them was it had to happen. If it doesn't happen, then it's got to be one of the other. It is human and or it is demonic in nature. So that's how I would look at it. Those screams from the devil that I almost I realize once I wake up that Satan never gives up. Never debate with Satan, you lose every time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so much.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate you, man. And I love your voice, man.
Program flirting.
Appreciate you, man. We love you, Ray. Take care. Hold on, PCH. All right. Bring it back there. I tell you, boy, I'm getting used to this right side, left side. I made 5 mistakes, but you didn't get hung up on at all by me. Let's go to Deja. Am I pronouncing it right? Deja in Malibu?
Yes, Deja. Mm-hmm.
Hi, Deja. How are you doing? Thanks for calling in.
Doing good, thanks. And yourself?
Doing well, thank you. And what's your
To heaven, that we're gonna, know our loved ones, and we're gonna be meeting up with people, and that sort of thing. But from my understanding, I was thinking that because I've never read in the Bible where it said that we're gonna be, meeting and greeting with our loved ones. I thought that, it tells us that we're gonna be changed. We're gonna to worship Him, not looking for. Like I was telling the screener that the Bible said, the poor beasts, they don't rest day or night. They just say, holy, 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 almighty, which was it is and is to come. And if He says that there's no flesh and blood that's going to dwell in heaven, right now on earth we live in the flesh. So we have feelings and all that kind of stuff. But when we go to heaven, it's not going to be about the flesh. It's going to be about the spirit, actually worshiping Him, because that's what I think heaven is going to be. So when people say that we're going to be knowing each other and meeting up and, oh, hey, how you doing? Remember this, remember that. I don't think heaven is about that because there's no backup scripture. I think that this is their opinion of what heaven is going to be like. But from the scripture, it seems like it's telling us that our main thing is going up there to worship the Lord, because down here on earth is where we're fellowshipping with each other. And yes, you live, you die, but it's nothing about meeting and greeting with people. So I'm asking, do you guys have a backup scripture for that, or is it something that's saying that?
Yeah, well, how about let me, we're trying to get by here. How about Deja? How about let me address it? Well, first of all, I appreciate what you're saying, and that your heart for God and wanting to worship God, but it doesn't have to be either or. I worship God or I spend time fellowshipping. Why can't it be both? Indeed, I would argue some of my best worship is with fellow believers and spending time with them and fellowship and bonding with them, and then communally worshiping God. But actually, the Bible does teach it. For example, in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, so you can go look this up, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, about verses 7, 8, 9, 10, it says to be absent from the body is to be at home with the Lord. But the word home there, you say, well, that doesn't prove it. The word home there literally means in Greek to be among one's people. So it doesn't just mean to be with God. It assumes that as well. But the word literally means to be among one's people. Well, to be among one's people is to have fellowship and time with them and so on and so forth. So certainly I wouldn't say our main activity will be socializing in heaven, but I think it's certainly going to be a part of it. And it's from passages like that. And this is the case where the original language, in this case Greek of the New Testament, is much clearer than English. Because in English you go, well, I don't see this, but in Greek it's clearly taught that we are among one's people. Well, why would I say you're among one's people? Because that's an idiom for having fellowship and spending time with loved ones and one's family, nuclear and extended. So that's what I would reference you to. And there'd be other passages, but that's a good start. Check that one out, okay?
Thank you, Deja, for your call. Really appreciate that. PCH, we're coming up to close to the close of the broadcast. We have about another about 7, 8 minutes. But let me give the number if somebody wants to call in. Actually, let me see. No, I do have a Facebook question I can deal with right quick. It's from Dixie, and she's asking a question about UFOs. Brian kind of like this stuff being the Batman guy that he was. Is there a validity in UFO sightings or existence? First question. And how UFOs are related to the creation of God. I asked about the validity of information because whistleblowers are stated to be telling what they know according to their experiences, etc. Let me bring something else up. She has more to say here. Let me see. So, does that mean it is something of Satan, including the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, a strong magnetic force where people's and ships and planes disappear? Woo, that's a bit much, PCH, but we have a few minutes. So, how about you and that UFO and all those whistleblowers steering the pot, as it were?
Well, I'm skeptical regarding the both of it. People are given to tall tales and things they don't understand. They often apply unusual explanations when there's a much more natural one. There's what's called Occam's razor, and generally the simplest explanation is more often than not the correct one. But there does seem to be some evidence, I think not a lot, but some evidence of some very unusual, indeed UFOs, if you will, or whatever term one wants to use. I see the concern. I think people like Hugh Ross reasons to believe he has a PhD in physics or whatever, astrophysics and that, astronomy, given to just tall tales, but he thinks there's a core of sightings and evidence that may be that it really is real. The bulk of it I do not subscribe to. I think it's imagined. I think it's a number of things. Anyways, I don't think it's based in reality. However, there appears to be some cases and some studies like of some type of spacecraft or ship like doing a right angle turn at 15,000 miles an hour approximately. Well, we know in our physics as we know of, that's impossible. You can't do literally a literal right angle turn at that fast. So it may be something spiritual, if you will, behind this. And it's interesting, all the UFO groups, the UFO cult and that, they all teach things that are contrary to Christianity. So there are a number of books like Crash Go the Chariots, Still Crash Go the Chariots, or the UFO Hoax by Kelly Seagraves. And again, Hugh Ross has written some material. I would recommend that. But the booklet, I don't put any stock in it, but some of it, I think if it does exist, it will indeed be demonic. But I want to be careful because we start talking like this, non-Christians go, see, there's the Christians going off on weird stuff again. There's natural scientific explanations, and they've got to bring in the devil or angels or whatever. I just think we need to be very, very careful, and I'll leave it at that. So I hope that helps.
I appreciate that, PCH. Listen, we do only really have about 6 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the issue that I almost brought in a couple of questions ago. At the golf course, serious conversations in between shots. So imagine my game. Anyway, we got into the issue in regards to people voting and platforms and things like that. I made a simple statement I made before, even on this broadcast many times, that I'm sort of like a line item guy on a budget. I don't just deal with just a whole thing. I follow the whole platform or whatever it is. So I brought the issue that if I do have a do or die situation, I deal with the idea that anybody that believes in abortion, and we talked about what that means, I'm not voting for that person and that platform. And so the guy came back and said, for Christians, he said, here's the answer I have for Christians. And I wish that Christians would consider this, that what Christians need to do in regards to that. And I guess we talk about, trying to decide who you're going to vote for, what platform you're going to go with, et cetera, et cetera. I know, we got into it as much as we can before we hit our next shot. And so the issue about abortions and the platforms that support it, he said that Christians need to simply do this. And I said, that can go across the board. And this is this. That he said that Christians just simply need to teach their children and teach their families and those that are involved with them as Christians that they just don't do it. Don't you do it? And so what is the issue, Craig, when it comes down to making a argument, as it were, about why you won't vote for a particular platform and someone coming up with an issue about, well, from the standpoint of a Christian, all you need to simply do is teach your people not to do it, and then that's just settled.
Well, I don't agree at all, and I would argue they don't say it that way at all. So first of all, to me, it's not necessarily an all or nothing. I don't necessarily agree with every point on the platform of any given party. But some things are more important than others. In other words, ethics to economics. As we're talking economics and about creating jobs or whatever, I'm more concerned about doing things that are immoral, like letting kids have fentanyl or what have you. But think of that. The idea is, well, you just teach your kids and don't worry about others. Okay, so I tell my kids, so you don't murder, but if somebody else murders somebody, it's not my problem. Now you say that's ridiculous. I hope you do. You say, well, that's wrong. Well, I'm going to argue abortion's wrong as well. But we'd have to have time to go through the discussion, not just say it. I'm going quickly because we're almost out of time. But no, that'd be like saying, well, I'll just tell my kids, don't have slaves. But if somebody else is a slave, well, it's none of my business. No, that's not true. There's all kinds of issues. And the Bible's very clear. It says even if your enemy, if his donkey or his ox get loose, don't you see it, go get the animal and bring it back or tie it up or keep it safe until they can come get it, if you will. Don't just go, well, it's not my problem. So I don't know anybody, literally, I don't know anybody, maybe other than a sociopath or psychopath, who says, well, I'm just going to teach my kids and then people can do whatever they want. They can kidnap, rape, murder, pillage, whatever. No. If something's wrong, it's wrong. And it's wrong not just, and the Bible's clear, for me and my family, but for everybody. So if I can keep somebody from getting ripped off, let's say an elderly person being taken advantage of financially with these phone solicitors and all that, I'm not going to go, well, I'm just going to teach my kids. No, don't you do that. I'm going to, as I'm able to intervene. Last example, a big part of my ministry and my teaching is dealing with human trafficking. I go over to Asia, to Cambodia, Thailand, and otherwise to help combat and deal with human trafficking, particularly little girls and sex slavery. So upon that argument, I should just go, well, I'll teach my kids not to do that. But if others want to do that, and they believe it's okay, that's not really my business. That's nonsense.
No, again, it's interesting when you use the example of fentanyl, because that came up right after the abortion issue in regards to possibly pick one item or one situation that's. So anyway, PCH, appreciate that. Man, this broadcast went pretty fast. On behalf of Brian, you can take Brian's 30 seconds and your 45 seconds, and I'll close the broadcast.
Well, thanks, Daryl. Yeah, indeed, this broadcast in honor of Brian's birthday would have been the 6th. And as Brian would often say, eternity is too long to be wrong. It's these issues are worth talking about, discussing. I'm not in the bad sense over, but well worth spending some time on, because these are eternal issues with eternal consequences right here, right now in this life and throughout eternity. My friend, if you don't know Christ, you should trust him as your Lord and Savior. Look into his claims. If you're a Christian but not walking with the Lord, I want to encourage you to begin to get back and close to the Lord and grow in your most holy faith.
Folks, I really appreciate that.